my dear friend and chairperson for the session, Mr. Pramath Bakliwal, is my friend for 40 years. It's a great honor to be addressing this gathering on a topic that is very close to my heart, that is semiconductors. And before I go there, I just want to say thanks to the wonderful hospitality of the city of Indore and the IMA. This is my first time here, and believe you have a gem. It's a hidden gem. I never knew about the city. Thank you very much. And sorry, I have a bunch of charts and slides. Now, with my engineering background and finance, it will be a disservice not to show some data. Data is the oil for the 21st century, and semiconductors are those refineries that make them possible. Every piece of data, that it has to be computed, has to be moved, has to be stored, has to be transmitted, has to happen through semiconductors. If you look closely, some of the things that power it, the big bar, the big blue bar on the left shows the data center driven data that is creating demand for semiconductors. All the information that we use every day, we transmit, all of it is exponentially creating amounts of need for semiconductors to process all the data, to get intelligence out of it. Most important aspect of it is none of these semiconductors today are made in India. And if you think this is something that is as important as oil was for the last century, don't you think we need to have some control or some handle on these products? And that's the reason why the Indian Semiconductor Initiative and all these actions that have been taken in the last few years have gained importance. Now, it is not just economics. There are many other things at play. The recent global geopolitical tensions that have cropped up, where countries are keeping their own sources of either rarer metals. Couple of key points. This is from 2020 to 2024, roughly $300 billion of incentives across various governments. And the incentives are very critical. That's a topic for another day. Without incentives, it's very difficult to get started, especially in a greenfield country like India. These are extremely essential. But just the other key point here is within the last 4 years in this horizon, nearly 100 plus manufacturing related investments have gone on across the globe in a massive scale. The exact phase, but he said basically if you don't have a strategy, it is aimless. But if you don't have execution with a strategy, it is useless. So execute at all costs. The entire world is now trying to drive some more resilience and a much more balanced supply chain. But this also points out that unless you have the focus and the efficiency, profitability can be very challenging. A quick overview of Tata Electronics. We started with EMS or Electronic Manufacturing Services, making iPhones through an acquisition, and then we built our own capability. This is in the south, in the Karnataka, Tamil Nadu belt. What are the vectors of innovation? First and foremost is core technology. There have been many cases in the industry where companies and countries that started but didn't have ownership of the core technology eventually became unsustainable.
One question to you. You have been managing, investments to the tune of 1 lakh crore for Tata Electronics. How is it like to be building, such a massive, factory and manufacturing facility in Dholera?
So first of all, it's a huge responsibility to spend that money extremely carefully. And some of the things that I referenced during my talk, being focused, there are many things which are interesting to invest. So for example, you could invest in the more later technology equipment, you can invest in other whiz bang features, or you can go do other areas where customers are coming and say, hey, can you do this, can you do that. We have to be, with that amount of quantum we have, in order to have that quantum have that scale benefit for us, we have to be extremely focused. The second thing is execution. Execution is super critical, because we have a very short window to emerge as a semiconductor player. Who knows what the geopolitics will be in 3 years time or 4 years time. And if the geopolitics changes, then the mood of the world might change also, because these semiconductor, there was a supply chain, there was investments that were going on before all of these geopolitical tensions created this need. So we have to be sharp focused on execution in order to make sure that we utilize this window of opportunity and come out. To me, that is the smart way how we manage. Of course, there are a lot of day-to-day challenges and difficulties. For instance, this was even out in the public news a few months ago, that we had some challenges with the soil condition in Dholera, Gujarat, and we had to innovate. In fact, our construction partners came up with a very different construction methodology in order to overcome that problem. These sorts of daily challenges will be there. These sort of daily cost overruns will be there. And if there are overruns, then we'll have to, I tell my team to figure out where else you can cut in order to make our financial model viable. You still have the same envelope of $11 billion. Figure out a different way to reduce somewhere else. Maybe it's in equipment, maybe it's in another form of construction, maybe it's value engineering. All of these things are fine game. So to me, the focus should be on the two big things, strategically placing our big bets and being very focused. Second, always sharp on execution, deliver to our commitments. And, like I said, the day-to-day challenges you manage within your envelope of, whatever budget you have to work with.
With that note, I would like to conclude this session. It's been a very interesting session wherein we saw three different dimensions, but which are all integrating into one at one or the other place. Thank you, Mr. Murali. I'll start with you for an inspiring overview of the entire gamut of Tata's semiconductor journey that you have given. It's a very bold vision for India's semiconductor journey. Tatas are synonymous with the very theme of Swadeshi, Swabhavik and Swanirmit, and the company's big bets in semiconductors with relentless innovation is in itself a proof of that. And Tata's is a name that's known for this for a very long time. A big round of applause for your leadership in shaping India's semiconductors future.